Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, yes.
Yes, boss.
Perfect. So in the last session, we started talking about Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2. We started talking about Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2, which is used to store the data. So what kind of data you're going to store in these places? You're going to store structured data. We talked about it. And practically we have not seen, but I'm just saying we are going to store the structured data and we are going to store semi-structured data here. We are going to store semi-structured data. And we're also going to show, that is very important, unstructured data. So if you have a unstructured data, then how you're going to load? We're going to say, so the way you're going to store the structured data, in the same way you're going to store it. This particular storage is going to help you to schema on read. So we don't need to have a schema to write the data. I mean to say, to load the data, we don't need to think about the data types. We don't need to think about the column names. So I can just dump it. So here we are going to store all these varieties of the data. And now we are going to see how we can create a storage account. Again, I'm going to show you how we can do it. And then we'll see how we can upload the data into this place. So the reason why we are going to do is, as a data engineer, you have to process the data. By taking the data from here, you're going to process it and you're going to give the data to the reporting team. So reporting team consume the data from our system only. From our system only, it is going to be consumed. Now, let me show you. Sorry. Yeah. So let me create a storage account. We already seen how we can have an account and what is the tenant and how we can connect to the portal in the last session. I just walk you through that. So if anyone joined today, you can just go through the yesterday session. You will be having basic idea about Microsoft Azure. So that those details I'm going to share with you after this session. You just have a look on that particular session. Now just imagine, now I'm just going to log into this portal. Once you log into the portal, I am going to use storage accounts. So storage accounts is used to create a blob account plus ADLS Gen2. So this is the name of the service. Let me take it. Let's hit on create. And then we can take the resource group. I'm just taking the resource group here. We already seen how we can create it. And setting up all the services is not our job. Basically, this will be taken care by administrators. Azure administrators are going to take care about it. But in this particular situation, we have to do our own practice. Because of that reason, we need to set up all this. So subscription is required. What is the subscription that we talked about it? And resource group is required. We talked about the resource group. It is a bucket where we can keep all your related services. And if you're taking a storage account, then provide the storage account details. Or if you're taking the ADF, then provide the ADF details. If you're taking the ADB, then provide the ADB details. For practicing that, we are going to do it. Now I'm just going to say storage account name. I'm just giving here. Bhaskar ADLS Gen2. I'm just giving some name test, or let's keep the Gen2. I hope it is available. Yeah. So from which reason you are going to take, I'll talk about it. Now I'm just going to take a blob storage or Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2. I already told you, by using the storage account, you can create two types of accounts. By using this service, you can create two accounts. One is blob storage, you can create it. So data is going to be stored in the flattened architecture. And when it comes to here, we are going to have a ADLS Gen2. So in the last session, I talked about what is the difference between these two flavors. As a data engineer, we are going to use Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2. So we never go and use this one mostly. In my experience, I did not come across it, but I'm sure we are going to use this very, very frequently. Without ADLS Gen2, we are not going to work as a Azure data engineers. So that details I have provided, and just leave this default for practicing. And I'm going to talk about this redundancy. What are the different types of redundancies are there? So as a data engineer, we don't need all this stuff. For understanding, I'm going to take you through few flavors or few things. Let's go to the next. In the next, you need to make sure to check this checkbox. If you check this hierarchical namespace, then only it is going to be treated, then only your storage account will be treated as ADLS Gen2. So otherwise, it is not going to be ADLS Gen2. So to treat that as a ADLS Gen2, you have to check this checkbox. So whenever you're going to do the practice, or whenever I'm going to take you through any of the use case or anything, when I'm going to use the storage account means that is 100% ADLS Gen2 only. Let's go for checkbox. And once you check this checkbox, there are three different types of access tiers. So this is also is important, especially when you go for a DP700, there is a chances to get the question. And if it is a DP203, it was expired. So we are going to write DP700. Access tiers are there here. I did not face anywhere what type of access tiers we're having in the storage account because we're not part of the administrators. So as a data engineer, I should know how we can consume this storage account, how your data factory is going to connect to your storage account, and how we can load the data into the target, or how your Azure Databricks is going to connect to the storage account is matters for us. But we don't care about all these things, but just have a look here frequently. Like if you have a heart, so by default, we are going to have a heart. And if administration team or if administrator team is interested to change this pricing tier or access tier, they can change it. Okay, so we don't need to think about all those things. So just say there is a three different access tiers are there. So these are going to help us to reduce the cost. Okay, so heart means optimized for frequently accessed data. Let's say I have a data in the ADLS. I have a data factory. Now I wanted to read the data frequently and load the data into the ADLS frequently. So if that is the case, then we are going to take the access tier as hot. So let's say I'm keeping employee.csv file here. So it's a file, but what kind of access tier you're going to take is by default, when the moment to keep the file into the ADLS manually, or if a data factory is keeping the data into the ADLS, your file access tier by default is hot. So this is optimized for frequently accessed data or everyday usage scenarios. Every day you're trying to read it. Every day you're writing the data into the same. So when you have such kind of situations, then you're going to use the hot. And there is a cool also is there. So optimized for infrequently accessed data. Infrequently accessed data and backup scenarios. If you wanted to keep some data for backup purpose, then you can also keep it here. So instead of that, even you can also keep it in a blob storage also. So in blob storage also, we are going to have it three pricing tiers. And then I have a code optimized for rarely accessed data, only for backup scenarios. Okay, so the cost, how this cost is going to be there. When the access tier is cold, the storage cost is less. The storage cost will be there and access cost will be there. So when you have a cold, what happens is The storage cost is less, very less. Okay, access cost is no access cost because you cannot access the data when the data is there in this particular mode. And we have a pool. So when you have a pool, less, and here also less. And there is a heart is there, right? Heart is going to be, the storage cost is more. And access cost is less. Why access cost is less is because you're trying to read the data frequently. If many users are hitting your source and reading the data from there, then for everyone, if you're paying more, then the cost is going to huge. So it depends on your requirement. The price will be decided by Microsoft. So that is how it is going to be happen. But who will take care of all these things is 100% as administrators is going to be responsible. We never care about it. Is it anyone having any question as of now? Then let's move on. Let's go and hit on review plus create. So whatever I'm taking the options, just have a look on that. That is more and more enough. Let's create it. Let me go to resource. Now in the storage account, what you're going to store is, when you come to this place, you can understand directly. So the reason why I'm saying, why I'm showing here itself is because you can habituated with the navigations. So if someone asks you, can you check the data in the so-and-so storage account, then you can go and open it. So once you open, then you can come to the data storage. You can see it. So this data storage is having 4 options. You can store the containers. So these containers are going to have a blobs. So blobs are nothing but files. And file shares is there. Queries are there and tables are there. We are not going to use any of this. I already told you storage is not only for us, storage is for many people. So we are going to concentrate on containers. 100% we are going to use only containers as a data engineer. So if anyone using any of these options, you can just let me know. Okay, so we are going to use only container. So container is a root directory. What do you mean by this container? So container is a root directory. Okay, so inside this root directory, you can have your data. So how exactly it is going to be there? Just observe. I'm just selecting these containers. And there is an option called plus container. Just hit on plus container. Then it is asking to pass the name of the container. So let me say generic naming standard, and how exactly the real-time naming standards we are going to have. We are going to see at the time of project. So then only can understand more and more. Okay, so for time being, I'm just taking generic naming standard for my explanation purpose. But at the time of project, we are going to follow the medallion architecture. So data engineering teams are going to follow medallion architecture when they wanted to process their business data into the cleanse data. Now let me say, create your container and hit on create. So creation of the container also is not your job. You're just going to access it. You're just going to access it. Now I have a container called data files. Inside the data files, I wanted to create a folder. Inside this container, I wanted to create a folders. So this is a root directory. and this is a subdirectory. So like that, you can have as many directories that you wanted to have it, you can have it. So we are going to say this very frequently, especially when we go with the Azure Databricks, then you can feel what is the importance of this. Now let me show you how I'm going to create a directory. You can see there is an option called add directory. The directory name I'm saying input directory. Let's say save. Now input directory is created. Input directory is created. If I wanted to create any directory, I can create. The first option is manually you can create it. And the second is by using Azure Data Factory, you can create it. And by using Azure Databricks also, we can create it. So all these three ways we are going to have it. But 99% we are going to use, 99% we are going to use these two options, ADF and ADB. So process has to create. Process has to create. If you are not having a process to create it, then you can think about creating manually. But 99% we don't go and create manually. Okay, so process has to do it. Now I don't have an output directory. If I wanted to have an output directory, I can do it with the Azure Data Factory or I can do with the Azure Databricks also. So we are going to see everything practically how we are going to handle it. And then I wanted to upload the data manually because we have to do our own practice. I wanted to create a pipeline. That pipeline has to move the data from one place to other place. Then first of all, you need to set up the source. Then target will be set up by using your pipeline. So in order to do that, we have to upload the data manually for our own sake of practice. In the real time, process will take care. Whatever the data sources they're having, underlying data sources, from there data is going to be ingested into this place by using the process. So what is that process? How we can usually used to do as a Azure data engineer that we are going to see at the time of project. Now let's go inside this root subdirectory. Now I'm just going to upload one file. Just browse for files. I'm just going to take a customer file. I'm just browsing it. Wherever my files are available, I'm just browsing it. Hit on open. Now you can see here, there are a few options that we need to talk. In the advanced, I have a blob type. I have a block size. Access tiers, I talked about it. 3 access tiers are there: hot, cool, and cold. And this blob type is block blob. So why they have given this block blob is the data is going to be distributed across the different nodes. So if you have a 5-node cluster, if all together is connected, if all the systems are connected together, let me say node 1, node 2, node 3, node 4, and node 5. So I'm going to talk little more in detail about this at the time of Spark introduction. But now, if I have a employee.csv file or customer.csv file as we are taking, so when the moment to store, when the moment to upload the data into this place, what happens is this file is going to be divided into multiple blocks. For example, my file size is 12 MB. My file size is 12 MB. If I have a 12 MB, then I'm going to have a block 1. B1 is going to be 4 MB. Not 12 MB, let's take 14 MB. And block 2 is going to be 4 MB. And block 3 is going to be 4 MB. And total 12. And block 4 is going to have 2 MB. Now, if I wanted to store this data, the data is not going to store in a single machine. Okay, so in the traditional systems, the data is going to sit in a single place. Okay, so in the traditional systems before Hadoop, before HDFS, the data used to store in the single system. Okay, so here itself it is going to store this 14 MB. Here itself it has to read the data by your process, like SSIS or Informatica. They have to read the data from the single system. But reading data from single system is going to take longer time. So because of that reason, these traditional systems are not capable enough to process the data. So because of that reason, we got distributed systems into the market. So what is a distributed system? How exactly it is going to be happen? We'll talk at the time of Spark, because that was the right time. And here I'm just giving some brief idea about it since we're touching the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 is a distributed platform, a distributed storage platform. So data is not going to store in single place. Now B1 is going to be there here, just imagine, and B2 is there here, and B3 is there, and B4 is there. Okay, so I'm just taking sequentially, but it may go for different order. And if I have one more file, or if I have a little more size, then within the same place we will be having other block. So one node means computer, node means a system. So in one system can have a multiple blocks of the data. Okay, so small chunks of the data is going to be distributed across the different nodes. So when Azure Data Factory or when Azure Databricks is trying to read the data from these places, it is going to read the data parallelly. It reads the data from here, it reads the data from here, it reads the data from here, and it reads the data from here. So instead of doing by single person, here it is a single person. Instead of doing that, if we have a 4 persons to do your work, the work will be finished faster. I hope everyone agree with me. In the same way, if the data is distributed across the different nodes, then you can read parallelly. You can read data from the sources parallelly. So because of that reason, we have a data. The blob type is blob. So blocks wise the data is stored in the system. Each block size by default it is showing 4 MB. The Spark is going to have a 256 MB, or HDFS also is going to have a 256 MB. So what is the Spark? We'll see that. But here I'm having 4 MB is the default size. If you want to increase the size, you can increase, or if you want to decrease the less than 4 MB, you can do, or greater than MB also you can do by doing changing that option. Now, if I say hit on this drop down, you can have here. So up to 100 MB it is available. The least is 64 kilobytes and max is 100 MB in the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So this is for storage point of view. So processing point of view also it is going to process the data parallelly. So because of that reason, now current systems or current data engineering systems, all systems are going to store the data parallelly, are going to process the data parallelly. So because of that reason, we are getting processed faster. When the data is processed faster, then you can get the insights immediately. So immediately means 1 day or 2 days, not more than that. Okay, so if you are getting the data after 1 week or 1 month, then there will be no use. By the time many things is going to be happen. So nowadays, if you want to stay in the market, you have to process the data as early as possible. Okay, so any question as of now?
Bhaskar, I have one question.
Yeah, please go
Is
ahead.
the block size is same for both the block storage and Azure Delta Lake?
No, the data lake will be little different. We'll come across that.
Okay, and regarding the hot, cold, and cold, right? So we need to make it container level, or we can do it file level also,
Account level.
account level.
Yeah, account level.
Okay.
So administrators will take care about it. Based on that, when the moment you upload the file, automatically it will take a heart. So here you are doing it manually, so you are having a feasibility to change it. But when the process is doing, process is not going to have that feature.
So, for example, if I have any historical data in that particular folder, so if I want to archive that one, is there any possibility to make it as cool or cold?
Yeah, we can. And even when we're having the data, because you're not going to check the file. Let's say, for example, you loaded the data 5 years ago. Just imagine 5 years ago. But if you keep the heart, if you're not using the data, but you're keeping the heart, you're wasting the money. So if you're not accessing the data frequently, then change the pricing tier from one tier to higher. So from hard to cool or from hard to cold you can do, or from here to here you can do it. Okay, so who is going to do is administrators are going to do. Even they cannot do manually. So they're going to have a some policy. They're going to create a policy. That policy is going to have a something like if have a like let's say for example, if we have a 30 days, if the age of the file is more than 30 days, I have a requirement something like this. If the age of the file is greater than 30 days, then change that into cool. Or if the age of the file is 180 days, then change that into cold, something like that. So they're going to set up these conditions. Automatically, the pricing tier is going to be changed.
Okay. So while creating the container, he need to take care of this.
Yes. So basically, administrators will take care about it. So policies will be on top, not at the container level. You're going to have at the subscription level, resource group level, and tenant level. Like if you take a central government and state government, if you have a policy across the India, then when the policy was introduced with the central government, every state has to adopt it. At the same time, the states also have their own policies. So all these things will be taken care by administrators. Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So this cluster setup, we no need to do then.
No, we are not going to take care anything. So it's a managed service. Okay, so your storage account is a managed service. So managed service means Microsoft itself is going to take care about it. We are not going to do anything.
But it is from Databricks, right? Not from Microsoft.
Which one?
This
No,
cluster.
no.
Yeah.
So cluster is, I'll give that differentiation. This is about the storage. Previously, if you go with the Hadoop, what happened is storage plus process both are tightly coupled. Okay. So there is a problem. You cannot stop the process. If you stop the process, storage will not work. Okay, so even if you're not processing the data, but still you're using all this compute. But when it comes to here, what happened is, what this cloud platforms has done is they separated the storage and process. Okay, so because of the Spark. Spark, main intention of the Spark is the same. Okay, so when it comes to here, by the time you can get more clarity so that we can discuss more in detail. But I'm saying, if you separate them, if you don't process the data, the cost of the storage, when you compare with the storage cost and processing cost is very huge because you're going to use the compute power. Storage cost is less. If you separate them, then are you going to reduce the cost or increase the cost? You're going to process only 1 hour. If you process 1 hour, you're going to utilize the compute only for 1 hour. After 1 hour, you're going to stop your cluster. But when it comes to the Hadoop, the cluster has to always in running mode, 24/7. Okay, so even if you're not processing the data, because if you stop the cluster, then you cannot access the storage.
So here we are talking about storage then.
Yes. Now we are talking about the storage.
Yeah.
Okay, they're separated.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Now,
I forgot, you mentioned ADF and ADB both.
Yes.
what it signifies, which you wanted. What it means, we can control from both the
Azure Data Factory and Azure Databricks and Azure Data Factory are the processing services.
Okay.
You are storing it. Then how can you process it? So to process this data, then you have to apply it. Let's say, for example, there is a date column. Okay. So I wanted to get the year from the date, okay, quarter from the date, or month from the date. Then definitely you have to process this data. So to process this data, we require these two services. As a data engineer, as an Azure data engineer, 100% you are going to use these two services.
But we'll use any one, right? Means
No, both are required. Why both are required, we'll talk.
okay.
Okay, the best data engineering project is always going to use both of them.
Okay.
But there are projects with only ADF and with only ADB also. But if you can complete this training with me, I'm sure you can work both together or an individual.
Just to remember any one or two specific when we need to use that factory and Databricks.
Basically, 99% of the data engineering projects are more and more interested for data ingestion with ADF.
Oh.
Okay. Basically, as a data engineers, we are going to do the two major activities at very higher level. One is data ingestion. And other is data transformation. For data ingestion, we are going to use ADF. For data transformation, we are going to use ADB.
Oh.
Okay. So here only we are going to use the medallion architecture, like bronze, silver, and gold. So what are all these things? We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let me upload this file. I'm just leaving everything as it is the default. Let's upload it. Now you can see the data here. You can have a data here. If I open this file, I can read the data from here also. Just for working point of view, we are going to use this. Okay, so I'm able to see the data. Okay, so we never delete the data, anything. So when you're doing a delete operation, that is very, very sensitive operation. So are you going to do the soft delete or are you going to do the hard delete? So that is also matters. We'll talk about all those terminologies, how we can handle it in the future sessions, but we are not supposed to delete it. So simple, if you are deleting, that is a hard delete. If the process is getting delete, if the process is deleting your file, then it is a soft delete. Okay, so we have to be very clear about it. And if you have access to the portal, you can access that by logging into this place. So what if you are not having the access to log into the portal? So sometimes there is a chances to without having access of the portal. So we not have the access for the portal. If that is the case, then how you can access this storage account? So in order to access the storage account from outside, we are going to use Storage Explorer. Storage Explorer, we are going to use it. Okay, so you need to download this. It is a client tool. It is a client tool. We don't need to pay any license cost for this. So everyone mission should have this. Even if you're not having, just ask them to install it. Okay, so since it is a free of cost, there will be no problem. Only thing is you need to have an approval from your manager. Okay, so or you have to raise the ticket. So the process will take care. Just make sure to have the Storage Explorer also. Okay, so when you have a Storage Explorer, then you can connect to this particular place, and we can interact with your storage account from outside. So outside means out of this portal. So you're there in the store of your Microsoft, but I wanted to access this store from out of this store. So if that is the case, then we required Storage Explorer. Azure Storage Explorer. So just observe what is the purpose of this. Azure Storage Explorer is used to manage your Azure Cloud Storage resources from your desktop. So you're having the storage here, and if you wanted to access from your desktop, then you need to have a Storage Explorer. We need to have a Storage Explorer. So then only can access it. You don't need to go inside this. You don't need to go inside the portal. I'll show you how we can get access it. In my system, it was already installed, so I'm not going to install it. So when you go to the download, you're having varieties of operating systems you can use, depends on your requirement. So since my system is having Windows 64-bit, I'm just taking Windows 64-bit, but I'm not going to download and install. Installation of this is very simple. You can also do it. Okay, so we are going to spend one day for setting up the environment for everyone, so that everyone is going to start doing the practice. So do not take the Azure account at this point of time. When the moment I start talking about Azure Data Factory, then you should be ready to take the subscription. So till then, you just follow with me, so that we can have 1 week time. But if you're interested to take it even right after this session, then it's fine. It's fine even if you take it now. You can start navigating to your Azure portal. So since it was already installed in my system, I'm just going to use the directly here Azure Storage Explorer. Here you can see Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. So it was connected already. So what I'll do is I'm just going to disconnect it for explain purpose. Now my Storage Explorer is not connected to any storage account. Now I wanted to connect it. So if I wanted to connect it, right click on it and then connect to Azure Storage. When I hit on connect to Azure Storage, you're having multiple options. Okay, so when I work for my previous project, I used to have access at the subscription level. When you go for subscription level, you can enter your Microsoft Authenticator ID, that is email, and then you can log in it. So there are other options also there if they wanted to control. And one more thing is when you go for the blob, we are not having the leaf level security control. When you go with the blob account, so that is also is one of the limitation. If I wanted to give a access for specific folder, I cannot give it. I have to give the access at the account level only. If you give the access at the account level, then you can do anything. Your responsibility is only for one specific file and one specific folder. Let's say, for example, I have a finance container or sales container or marketing container, something like that. So if you wanted to give the access for finance team, then you can give the access to finance team only. You don't need to give the access for all these things. So that kind of control was not there with the blob account, whereas with the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2, we are having it. Because you can see here, blob container, directory also you can take it. ADLS Gen2 container and directory, file share, fee level, table level. Okay, so I'm just going to take the storage account. And here I'm having a 3 options in order to provide the connection details. I can use the connection string. I can use the connection string. or I can use the access keys also, access account name and key. And there is a SAS shared access signature. Why all these things are available is only for only for accessing your storage. Okay, so sometimes the SAS is also is important, because let's say, for example, I have a container. This container is there in the production. So there is some issue in the production. I wanted to give access to the production. You're a developer. Okay, so most of the times developer is not going to have a directly access to the production. Okay, so you cannot go. In many companies, they're going to restrict. You will be having full control on the dev. But in order to fix that issue, what you have to do is you have to take the data from here. Production on top of the production data. The reason is, let's say, for example, you designed one data pipeline. So this data pipeline was succeeded in the development. In the testing also, it was succeeded. You'll be having dev that you're going to do the unit testing. It was succeeded. So you gave it to the testing team. So testing team also does the testing. That is also succeeded. They gave the signed off. And then it went to the ERT. Yet also signed off. Then it went to the production. When the job is running in the production, it is getting failed for some reason. It's because of some data. So that data may not be available in the dev environment, and that may not be available in the testing environment. But I have such kind of data in the production. So if you want to test it, then you have to bring this data to here. You have to bring the data to here, or you need to access it. But they don't give access continuously. Okay, so what they will do is they're going to do this kind of shared access signature, or mostly they're going to give a shared access signature. They will set up the time, 1 week or 1 month, something like that. Those details they will give. Automatically, when the 1 month or 1 week is completed, automatically that your access will be expired. Okay, so for that kind of reasons, we are having these many options. But all these things, who is going to use? Your administrators are going to take care. As a data engineer, I'm going to ask them, can you give the access to the production? As a data engineer, I'm going to ask them to just give the access, reading access or writing access, whatever the access is required. So I don't care how they're going to provide. When you join in anywhere, if you wanted to read the data from any of the database, you're just going to ask them, or you're going to raise the request to provide the access. You're not going to provide the access. You're going to take the access from someone else. So that is what we are going to do here. So in this particular case, I'm just going to take the account. Let's go with the connection string. Now let's go here. Storage account. In the storage account, you can find a security. In the security, I have a access keys. In the access keys, there is a connection string. I'm just copying this connection string. So this connection string will be saved. Okay, so you don't have any control here. But if you go with the shared access signature, I can control at the leaf level, and starting time and ending time I can provide. I can add the IP addresses also if you wanted to go at that particular level, then I can give the access. You'll be having more control on the shared access signature. Okay, and apart from that, basically we are going to have the access with the Azure Active Directory or Microsoft multi-factor authentication. Now I'm just going to take this connection string. Let's go and use it for our practice. And let's go to next. In the next, I'm going to provide this connection string. Automatically, it is going to get the name of the account also. Let's say next and connect. Now, if I expand this file containers, you can see there is a data files. Inside the data files, I have a directory called input directory. Inside the input directory, I have a file called customer.csv. So if I wanted to upload any file, then I can also take it from here. I'm just going to take this file and just drag and drop it here. You can upload the file from here. So we are going to use this extensively when there is an issues with the production. We have to take the production data into the dev to process and to test it. Otherwise, you never go and test directly in the production environment. You have to test in the dev, then you have to move it to the production. Okay, so in that case, we can take a copy of the file, just copy and paste it. You don't need to write any script. You can just right click on copy and you can copy and paste it. So that simple it is. So I used many times whenever there is an issue with the production. So this is one of the tool that we are going to use frequently. Okay. Any question with the Storage Explorer?
Hi, Bhaskar. So you told like development or there'll be three environments, na? Development,
yes.
production, something, or
Yes.
UAT.
Yes.
So it is like a separate folder only.
Separate
within
accounts.
the separate account.
Yeah, separate accounts.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
We are going to have a separate accounts.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so any other question? I'm stopping here. And tomorrow I'm going to talk about the redundancies. And then we are going to complete this Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2. And if you wanted to go for certification, I'll share this material. Okay, so you can just have a look on it. Whatever I talk, most of the things will be available here. You can just have a look on this material. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, then. If you're not having any question, I'm stopping here.
So one question.
Yeah,
So
please.
this is not with respect to this. So generally, like Databricks, so like there'll be multiple levels, like basic, medium, or advanced. The Databricks with respect to Databricks. Anyhow, you are covering up with Azure. So like what level you are going to cover up means.
Up to advanced level, we're going to touch
Okay.
in the data factory and even in the Databricks.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
And can you highlight like some of the topics yesterday you told, na? Like
Okay.
whatever you have covered. But
Okay.
initially, can we like
Yeah. Do you want me to now?
yeah, means yeah, just in the
On every day session before starting, you're expecting, right? Is that right?
that is also fine. Or if you are covering up this week, like these are the things.
Yeah. Definitely, we are going to.
That would
That will be helpful at higher level.
means our correct, higher level.
Yeah.
Our mind will set to that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes, definitely.
this is
Definitely.
under this, you are explaining these things.
Yes.
That will be having.
Definitely. Okay. Okay, then we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.